Have you ever felt like you had a really good animation and you wanted to post it to YouTube? Have you ever placed anything on YouTube? Do you animate? Well, this video might help you because for episode 13, I'm going to describe a couple of ways that the very YouTube I use has affected me in ways of both copyright and just general posting. All of these things are probably really useful to you if you ever have gotten a copyright strike or you don't know how to deal with it. So, first of all, let's start with YouTube and how strict its policies have gotten over time. YouTube used to be a very rampant place for basically almost any type of video. So, if you were here for the beginning of TikTok, it was like the Wild West of TikTok, but just YouTube. There were videos galore. You could post basically anything. And some were not as well viewed by the younger audience. Does that mean that YouTube took them down immediately? No. In fact, sometimes they would spread. Multiple people would take it, put it up, repost it. There would just be a cycle of endless and endless people basically pranking YouTube in some fashion or making a joke out of the fact that, like, okay, you take it down, we're going to put it back up. You might get a copyright violation. You might get a, video takedown notice. Someone might remove it or report it, but that didn't stop people. People were on the move, okay? Back then, it truly was the Wild West. Nowadays, though, security is tight. There are basically the equivalent of little YouTube security guards running around because you basically have to deal with the algorithm AI and, you know, whether it be trolls on the internet or people doing whatever they can to, report videos or, you know, you did post a video that had a copyright claim to it. It's not as easy anymore to get up what you want. You might be thinking, yes, Brian, I know. Post what is original and YouTube will love it. But sometimes there are some hiccups that you might not know that come up. The first scenario is quite simple and the easiest. YouTube basically misidentifies a piece of music that you made and tells you you have a copyright strike. The best way to tell you that this isn't going to happen is if you come to the realization that you made a very simple beat or a drum beat or something and you put it into your show or cartoon, or even if you're just making music, it's probably going to get flagged. If it sounds too basic, then you're going to find out that really YouTube is going to flag almost all, if not a good portion of your music. Now, I know that there are definitely people out there who have gotten away with simpler tones and things like that where they're putting them up, sounds, those kinds of things. There's a very easy way around this, and it's just not that you can't post anything, it's just practice your craft. Because the first thing that I learned was don't post simple beats and music that you've made, because if they sound even an inkling close to something else that YouTube flags or picks up, you're going to get a copyright strike, which is the one thing I want to talk about dealing with. The first method of getting a copyright strike is always daunting. But when you get one, you never know what to do because you're probably new. You're probably a fresh young YouTuber and you want to get this thing to be the best YouTube channel ever. You want to have the best channel ever and you want to be whoever's popular at the time, whether it be Mr. Beast, PewDiePie, I don't know, whoever you want to be, the idol of your YouTube domain. So you get a copyright strike and you're scared. Here it is. It's threatening. It looks very, legalese because they just say a bunch of words at you and tell you that your video is being taken down. When I first got a copyright strike, do you know what I did? I deleted my channel and I deleted the video and I didn't realize there was an actual appeal process. So, this is my helpful hint to you. Don't freak out. Stop. If you can't do it by yourself, have someone look it over with you. Appealing is always your best case because if appealed enough, and I don't exactly know the multitude of levels for the appeal process, because I hadn't ever had to get to the higher levels, you could just hit the appeal button. They'll come back, and most likely, if it's different or it's, it is a basic sound, they will just say, okay, never mind, we were wrong, here's your video, it's back up. Sometimes, however, it's not that simple, and there are multiple levels. It's very hard to contact a human, and you mostly have to go through the physical support that YouTube or Google gives you through their little automated help desk thing. I know there's a number you can actually call, but I've never actually had to use it, and I don't think that even goes to a human. The second thing that you probably want to avoid is posting, you know, anything related to uh, large clips of shows, videos, things like that. You can avoid that very easily by just not doing it, posting original content. But if your original content is something like you're in a podcast and you're talking about SpongeBob, for at least 5 or 15 seconds, you can put up a picture or a small video as long as you're not directly copying an entire episode. I can't remember the exact length of time, but if you're speaking specifically about a moment in a show or playing something very quickly in between, it is allowed. There are small rights you have. There's a little bit of fair use in things, and fair use is something that you should look up just because that was a very uh it basically helps explain what you can use and how you can use it. Fair use is the easiest way of looking up things and just understanding, I guess, the legal side of it. Now, if you're going to understand why people generally go after these things, it's because when somebody copyrights something, they own it. It's theirs, it's their property, whether it be a company or a person. They don't want you posting about it. I think that it's slightly undervalued. You know, you there's a saying from I think it was the owner of Steam where he said they didn't care so much about piracy, and it was mostly because they found that the only time piracy occurred was because of a lack of a service, and basically that people wanted to share something or do something. And I think the reason TikTok took off so quickly was because they were like the Wild West. They were posting everything. You could post almost anything. There was music. It felt like there were no limitations. Freedom in posts and, just a good For You page can do a lot. But I think that when you're talking about piracy and copyright, they kind of go hand in hand. It's a different word, it's a different system, but let me tell you, if those things are available to you, if they are something you can use, if you can post about Mickey Mouse freely, if you can post about uh, Mentos gum freely, if you can do those things, I think that's just free advertisement. I think good or bad. You know, obviously certain companies have they have a certain portrayal of how they would like certain things to be said about the items that they own and intellectual property. But the biggest thing you need to know is that uh, copyright is very simple. If it's not yours, probably don't post about it unless you are like a news channel. You can there's some low level things you can swing and still be considered fair use. Um, on the off chance that you are posting parody music, it doesn't have to be. I can't. The exact rule always escapes me. I think you can have pretty much the same beat. You have to make it yourself. So you can't take an instrumental and then just sing over it. You have to make it yourself, and then you can sing a parody lyrics over that. But the entire idea is that you are obviously not saying anything too close to the actual song that was written. If you're just jumping into parody music or you need an example, I'm just going to say Weird Al because I'm pretty sure Weird Al invented parody music. Now, when I first started on YouTube, I had the silly notion that I wasn't going to post as much as I thought because at the time I had been working a job. I didn't see any way to post because of my work schedule. And in reality, I had all the time in the world. I could have been working very heavily on it, but instead I did not. Now I'm like gung ho and I'm trying to do this podcast. I've got 3 other channels. Things are looking up, okay? There's no way to know that you're going to go viral. There's no way to know if you're going to ever be a voice that people hear. You do it because you love it. You do it because you want to do it. And you do it because, hey, you're here and sometimes you got some time to kill. Over the years, I've been affected in the copyright strike category. I've been affected in the music making category. I've been affected in the parody category. I've pretty much tried everything creative when it comes to YouTube videos under the sun, minus, I guess, according to the algorithm, making my own original content. However, I would debate that that was just young me, young Brian, and I did not know. I really didn't know about the appeal button. For like a good year, I had an account that just sat dusty, which was a total drain. So don't be Brian. Don't be scared. Look for the appeal button. Please, I'm begging you. You could be Mr. Beast way faster than I ever was. Now, I actually have a friend who's doing way better on YouTube than I am. Her name is Brandy. I don't know her exact username. I do follow her, but I think it's like Slay Brandy something. She does Twitter, she does YouTube. Let me tell you, that lady, she's got it going on. We were just people who would sit on the bus together, and when I say that not only was she my best friend, she literally has become a I don't know if she's making like money, but I know that she's partnered with G Fuel. I see that all the time on TikTok, and I'm just like, wow, you know what? I'm so proud of Brandy because like we used to just sit on the bus and talk about SpongeBob. So like it can happen. You can get a following. There's a lot of things that go along with this that it's kind of like you just got to be persistent and keep trying. I had to find things that worked for me. So, um, like originally I started out trying to make videos. I just didn't have time to edit. I had a lot of, when I say videos, I mean like fully filmed, like someone walking around with me. That didn't work. I couldn't have someone come over every day. That my friends were not that available. I had video ideas, but they just never came to be. I had animations I wanted to make that took way too long and I couldn't post frequently to start. And then it came down to just little pieces building up and I got stuck. The copyright thing really took a year from me, and that's what's crazy. Now, if you want to move forward with your YouTube channel, just make sure that you're posting something every day, or whether it's a short. So I have a schedule. It's very simple. Shorts every day if possible. If not, it's not crazy either. You just do one a day, because YouTube seems to like that. You want to do two a day? Go for it. Space them out a little, but once you space them out, you're good. Okay. Uh, Record a couple things, post them later. You don't have to be crazy on YouTube and like TikTok, you have to post all the time. Just post when you can. So I feel like we've strayed from the topic of copyrights and things like that, but the idea is you don't want to you don't want to like fight the algorithm. Um, I don't think when we're talking about the algorithm that there's really like a specific like you can do it 100% of the time. Like it's obviously going to test you whether you're posting a lot, whether you post at all, whether you're frequently posting. There's just so much that goes into what is YouTube now. They're much better with metrics. I think that the introduction of TikTok has helped clean up some things, but also made some things worse. But if you can ever meet the payment threshold, that's something that I should talk about, actually. I feel like that fits. Payment threshold. Easy peasy. A long time ago, I think it was only get 1,000 watch hours, and you can be maybe it was like the original the original payment threshold was a lot easier, and I did almost cross it. Okay, so I was really close when I first started YouTube. Whatever it was before the 4,000 watch hours and 1,000 followers. Then they added the TikTok shorts, kind of like you get YouTube shorts, and then it's like TikTok, and they're like, oh, well, if you get 10 million views, and then you get, you know, on top of that, 3,000, you can get stickers, which, okay, Good, sure, whatever you want, okay? Do what you will. But I can tell you that the thresholds to me feel almost impossible. So if you're feeling like I haven't crossed them yet since they updated those things, they feel impossible, but they're not impossible. Is your content bad? No, actually, for years I was convincing myself I wasn't meeting the threshold because I was just a bad YouTuber. And that's not the case. You have to find your audience. There's literally 3 billion or something like there's billions of people on YouTube. Whether you're in this country, that country, it doesn't matter. People will come, they will watch you, they will, listen to what you have to say. I had a podcast that I went through on something called Anchor FM, which eventually became Spotify Podcast because they bought it. I was getting paid there for very small sums of money for the people that listened, but then they sold it and then they took away the payment threshold. Second time that's happened to me. The first time was YouTube. So I don't know how involved AdSense is. I know that it's probably still controlled by AdSense in some fashion, but I was not allowed to use AdSense after a while, um, because they also have some sort of threshold. Like it's tied to the YouTube stuff. So like you obviously have to make that threshold, then AdSense will let you in. AdSense is something you should really look into. If you didn't know AdSense was part of anything, if it's still called AdSense, that's how long it's been since I've, physically looked at it. But AdSense is definitely another wall you're going to have to go through. Um, People say you need YouTube management. Maybe when you're doing well, there will be YouTube managers coming for you. Uh, I don't think that's the case. I know that Mr. Beast has a YouTube manager. It's the same one who is it Ryan Trahan? Is that his name? I think that's who it is. he he uses the same manager. They're the same people. So if you ever see him on like products or both of them, or they're just like talking about something like that, they're literally just like the same conglomerate. It's like if you were like, oh yeah, it's well, I'm trying to think of a good store. Well, if you well, when you have a store and you're like, oh, that company's owned by this big company, the Ryan Trahan and Mr. Beast, they're basically the same person. they're they're different people. They're just not, they have the same manager. It's like two actors having an agent. And I just have to be honest with you, I find that entirely frustrating. Um the next few I've been thinking about talking about it in another category, but like if you're writing a book, this has nothing to do with YouTube. If you're writing a book, you have to go through either like KDP, where you get paid less apparently. You can go through something called BNN or sorry, BNP Press, which is Barnes and Noble or BNN Press or something. I Basically Barnes and Noble and uh, Amazon have direct publishing. So you can do kind of what you do on Amazon, where you like sell a book digitally. You can put it into their book, and then the idea is that Amazon will reward you for exclusivity. Barnes and Noble pays a little bit less, but I think it's because they're partially like bleeding money as a company, but they're also still holding on. So it's not like goodbye Barnes and Noble. Secondly, uh, if you don't do Amazon or the direct publishing, that's the easiest for you and I. You have to go to a physical book agent, which I think is bogus, who filters your book for the companies that print them. Which, in my head, as a business person, like if I was just like, yeah, I wouldn't want everybody just putting a book up, right? You don't want just everybody putting a book up. Okay, sure. But then I think about YouTube and how everybody can post and how these things happen. It would filter itself out on a bookmaking level. Amazon only makes the books on demand. Like people pay to, when you buy a book, you buy the book, they print it. The book itself doesn't exist until someone purchases one, at which point, you know, you can get you can buy your own book copy and do whatever you want. But, sideshow, I think that in general, if you're ever going to go into the YouTube business, sometimes there's things like LLCs, managers, and, how you are as a person, like whether you have a registered LLC as a business, you pay the business taxes and things like that. You're going to have to think about taxes. Like there's a financial side to this that I never actually thought about until, physically doing taxes myself. When I'm younger, it just seems like, oh yeah, I'm just going to do videos, make money, and go. Like, you don't have to worry about taxes. Do you need a tax professional? Do you need an accountant? Do you need, like what are you going to do in the future? Just mild things. You don't have to be crazy like and intricate about it cuz I think I like to stay a little bit aloof. Do I need a manager? Probably not. I probably will never have a manager. I'm pretty dead set on the fact that if there's a manager coming to me, I'm going to tell them no. I don't know what a manager physically will offer me. That would be like to like suck my soul in and make me part of like the Mr. Beast tree, if that's what it is. But I know this YouTube will definitely run you through every hurdle as it is. If I need a manager, I'd get one, even though I'm so against it. But I don't think, just seeing how YouTube is and how it runs, I don't think I need one. Secondly, all right, if I've probably said secondly like 800 times at this point. The whole idea of this is, you know, you're going to have trials and you're going to have like different issues come up on YouTube. You just got to breathe, okay? Because putting up a YouTube video, making these things, editing, whether you need editors, you don't have to do it alone. If you are doing it alone and you're stubborn like me, you just got to find a way to make it work. So like my podcast boiled down to okay, I can say these things, I can talk, I can put it up. The video part is the hardest part for me because I'm not gonna lie to you, my house is always a little messy, and so's my room. And I don't have a perfect YouTuber studio setup. So the whole point of this podcast is that I do it while I walk around. I'm posting videos. Things will happen. Right now, cats just ran into a Tide bottle and a Downy bottle I have by my recycling. So if you heard that, now you know. that's I'm literally in the kitchen like doing dishes while I'm doing this. So crazy. I'm always doing dishes. um, no, it is a different. If you're listening to this one, the dishes I was doing are different dishes from the day before, but I am always doing dishes, so it's crazy. Anyway, you have a great day, and remember to think about the appeal button. I think honestly, the appeal button is really the big. I don't know why it was so important, but I was just like, you know what? Whoever's listening to this, if you're listening to this, you need to know that the appeal button is super important. It's crazy. Like honestly, it's sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes they still say no, but and then you can go and reappeal to like a higher appeal god. I don't, I don't. Yeah, we did not appeal. Okay, you're gonna have to go through it again. Sometimes you get to the point where you have to like call Google physically and be like, "What's wrong with this video?" And then you have to repost the video, take down the old one. Sometimes it's just as simple as they won't budge, and you just get rid of the video, which is really depressing. But then you can find out what's wrong with it, and then be like, "Hey, this is what I'm gonna do. Post it, fix it." For the most part, they're pretty descriptive. They'll show you the exact piece, they'll take the exact sound, they'll tell you exactly what's wrong. Most of the reason my podcast doesn't have music in the background is because it kept getting flagged and I couldn't monetize it. And they were like, you won't be getting any watch time. And I was like, wow, all of those videos I worked so hard on ruined. So that's what if you're like, wow, this podcast would do with some music. We could have music in this podcast and it'd probably be like a low background, like, nothing crazy, just like a lo-fi. Okay, he can't have it. You know why? Because they flag it every single time. And it's so annoying to deal with. I do not like copyright strikes. So I just generally try to avoid them. Think outside the box. And this is what my podcast has become because of copyright strikes. So it's how they affect me, that's for sure.